The hour of 7 p.m. having arrived, I'll call to order this regular meeting of Keene City Council. This meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel and Spectrum Channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. If you'd like to receive an electronic City Council packet to reference while viewing future broadcasts, please contact the City Clerk's office during regular business hours or go to the city's website and subscribe to the city meetings email list. The agenda is also accessible from any mobile device, and I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Brian J. Lake.
Here.
Michael Remy.
Here.
Gladys Johnson. Michael Giacomo.
Here.
Randy L. Filio.
Here.
Robert C. Williams.
Here.
Philip M. Jones.
Here.
Andrew M. Madison.
Here.
Chris E. Roberts.
Here.
Raleigh C. Omerod. Bettina A. Chadbourne. Catherine I. Workman.
Here.
Mitchell H. Greenwald. Kate M. Bosley.
Here.
Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
Councilor Jones, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I'd be honored. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a couple of announcements. Another reminder about the council summer vacation coming up, the MSFI and FOP meetings on July 26th and 27th, as well as the August 3rd council meeting, and the PLD and FOP meetings on August 9th and 10th are canceled, and the council will resume its normal schedule on August 17th. On June 1st, the council voted to refer the MSFI recommendation on the downtown infrastructure project to a council workshop with a date to be established after the presentation from Mr. Speck. With that presentation having occurred earlier this week, I'm scheduling the council workshop for Thursday, July 6th, 2023, immediately following the regular city council meeting, so hopefully everybody can make it. The regular council meeting will start early at 6 p.m. And previous workshops allowed public comments. However, this upcoming workshop, we're not planning to. It's really a time for the council to hash out and do what it wants to do with this project and take further action from there. And with that, I'd be looking to Councilor Powers for a motion, Councilor Bosley for a second on the minutes, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to accept the minutes of the June 1st, 2023 City Council meeting as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Which brings us to communications, number 1.
This evening, we have a communication from Arts Alive. They are requesting a waiver of parking fees under the council's free parking policy for an event they are holding on Sunday, August 13th, called Elevate the Arts.
And I'm going to warn you right now, I've got a bunch of suspend the rule requests tonight, which we usually try to avoid, but it's not totally unusual seeing as we're getting up against it with our vacation and all. So I understand this is a time-sensitive matter. I'd be looking at Councilor Powers for a motion, please, to suspend the rules with a second by Councilor Remy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to suspend Section 26 of the Rules of Order to grant the waiver of parking fees.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy. Any discussion on the suspension of the rules? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yep.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
And Counselor Workman?
Yes.
And Counselor Greenwald?
Yep.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And the rules are suspended. Looking to Councilor Powers and Councilor Remy again, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the report, which is looking to waive the fees for this particular event being held on Gilboa Avenue on a Sunday, using approximately 85 spaces, and will be occupied, reserved for the event. Therefore, it kicks into our rules that says we have to charge fees for it. It's not the meter fees, but it's a fees for reserving those spots, having the maintenance that's required, somebody to maintain it, and ensure that somebody else doesn't park in those spaces that they've got reserved. If that's the case, it's going to require some enforcement. All of this is provided for in our city code, under 94-151 in the first section. And then in an ordinance, a resolution passed in 2015, it provides the city council the authority to waive the fees. So we're asking you to waive $860.
I just asked council that maybe you read the motion since they haven't seen it before, and then we'll get a second to get it on the floor.
We
You got it?
don't have one.
Hmm.
Oh, right here.
Right, sorry. These suspended rules. So rental fee is charged for the exclusive use of public parking. This event is held on Sunday, and this applicant is looking for a waiver under city council free parking policy. Therefore, the event qualifies. I'd move to grant the request of Arts Alive for free parking under the provisions of free parking policy for their Elevate the Arts event scheduled for August 13th.
Second.
We have a motion by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Any further discussion on this? Yes, Counselor Giacomo.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just curious if this event, is it going through protocol? Does it require protocol? And if so, the specific question with that would be, how do they make sure the spots are empty? I know we ran into this last year for Gathering the Gourds, and just want to make sure that they've got a plan in place for emptying those spots and make sure they stay empty overnight.
My understanding is this event did have a sort of a mini protocol, not sort of a full-fledged one. But this issue of the parking spaces really goes to Council Powers' comment about the work that needs to be done to provide notice to the public, to sort of mark the meters that they are actually reserved. So that issue was addressed during a Zoom protocol meeting, I believe.
Yes, Counselor Greenwald?
Thank you. I'm not opposed specifically to this request. I'm sure it's going to be a great event. What's the criteria? The next time a group comes in and wants to have free parking, do we say yes to everything? Well, if it's Arts Alive, I guess we do. But I just wonder, we want to take that into consideration. I'll vote in favor of this, but it does have some issues.
City Manager?
Thank you. The criteria in Resolution 2015-11 for the council policy is that it must be sponsored by a nonprofit entity, or must be for the exclusive financial benefit of a nonprofit entity, or must be a government entity. And then there's another criteria, and that is it must be an activity that appeals to a cross-section of the community, which contributes to the vitality of the downtown area of Keene. So there are criteria, and they are technically used consistently to make sure that we treat every situation like this fairly.
Yeah, to Counselor Greenwald's point, maybe worth looking into that again to give a little more than that for the next time. Counselor Madison?
Thank you. Just a reminder to the council in response to Counselor Greenwald's comment. This is on a Sunday, so normally the fees are to make up for revenue that would be lost from parking spaces, for parking fees, meters, et cetera. This is on a Sunday when we're not charging for the parking spaces anyway, so the city's not losing any money.
No, not on Sunday.
I think they just want to reserve the spaces.
There's a charge for that.
Yeah.
Never mind.
All right. All good? All set, all good? Any more discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 2.
We have a request from Keene Swamp Bats. They would like to have another discharge of fireworks at the end of their game for the season.
This will be referred to the Planning Licenses and Development Committee, number 3.
This is communication from Council Filio. He's proposing a referendum question to be placed on the municipal ballot relative to the preferred design alternative for the downtown infrastructure improvement and reconstruction project.
And this will be referred to the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee, number 4.
This is a communication from both Council Williams and Council Chadbourne. They're looking for a public forum to discuss the most effective use of the opioid settlement funds.
And this will be referred to the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee, number 5.
This
The
is a
new
communication.
number 5, I guess.
Yes, this communication came in almost at 4:30 this afternoon. It is actually from a local winery. They're based out of West Chesterfield. And this particular winery, Copper Cannon, I put copies on your desk. They participate in these farmers markets all around the area. Typically, what they find is there's an administrative process for approval to participate in a farmers market. This is a regulation under the Liquor Commission. But unfortunately, in Keene, we don't have that administrative approval. We send, because this is public property, we send these requests through the city council. This gentleman has contacted us and would very much appreciate your consideration of suspending the rules and allowing him to participate in the farmers market this weekend. We have received the, sort of the complimentary approval from the farmers market that they're happy to have him join their group as a vendor.
Okay, so I'm looking to Counselor Bosley for a motion to suspend the rules, and Counselor Giacomo for a second, please.
I move to suspend Section 26 of the Rules of Order to introduce and act upon the request from Copper Cannon Distillery to participate in the Keene Farmers Market.
Second?
We have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Giacomo. Counselor Bosley.
I think Patty's stolen all of my thunder here, so this is just to allow us to act on a request that's time sensitive.
All right. Any other questions on suspending the rules? Counselor Remy? No? All right. Further discussion on suspending the rules? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson? Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yep.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
That is unanimous. Looking at Counselor Bosley again and Counselor Giacomo for the second, please.
I move to recommend that Copper Cannon Distillery be granted permission to sell alcohol and provide individual product samples to patrons at the 2023 Keene Farmers Market on city property licensed to the Farmers Market of Keene in accordance with the requirements of the State Liquor Commission. Said permission is contingent on the following: submittal of a signed letter of permission from the Farmers Market of Keene and obtainment of all necessary permits and licenses in compliance with all laws.
Second?
We have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Giacomo. Counselor Bosley.
So I think we got a lot of the details on this particular organization already, but this is not a request that's unsimilar to one that we received earlier in the year for a winery that is distributing samples, and I think the farmers market has done a great job so far this season of managing this type of request. So I think that I would support this getting approved.
Any discussion, Counselor Remy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a chance to catch up with Mr. Amaker as part of the Taste of Keene Food Festival. They were the most popular one at the food festival, I can say, from number of tokens collected. So really popular place. And I got a chance to catch up with them a little bit about this. It's actually new that the Liquor Commission allows distilleries to be part of farmers markets. So that's where it's kind of a late ad coming into there. So it was a new role that they were allowed to do that. So he was pretty excited to hopefully participate. Thank you.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All is in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. This brings us to committee reports number 1.
We have an informational report from the Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee on the Housing Needs Assessment.
And we'll file this as informational. Number 2.
Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee report on the DMAR Marathon. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee recommends that the Elm City Rotary Club be granted permission to sponsor the Clarence DeMar Marathon on September 24th, subject to the signing of a revocable license and identification agreement and the submittal of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, listing the city of Keene as an additional insured. This license is conditional upon the petitioner providing an adequate number of volunteer race marshals to ensure runner safety along the course and is subject to any recommendations of staff. The petitioner agrees to absorb the cost of any city services over and above any amount of city funding allocated in the FY24 community events budget, and payment shall be made within 30 days of date of invoicing.
Counselor Mosley for motion, Counselor Giacomo for second, please.
I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second?
We have a motion from Counselor Mosley, seconded by Counselor Giacomo. Counselor Mosley.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this is the same event that we know and love, the DeMar Marathon. They're going to hold it on September 24th this year. We spoke with them briefly about their intentions of re-engaging the schools. They had a low participation of youth because of coming out of COVID. And we did talk a little bit about the super seniors who ran their own race during COVID, which is kind of exciting, and I'm very proud of them for doing that. But they are planning on bringing both of those events back into the fold, and excited to have this back. PLD voted unanimously to recommend it.
Any discussion? Seeing, Counselor Jones.
Thank you. Just to give them a little bit of accolades, just so everybody knows, they've been voted as the top marathon in New Hampshire, and they've also been voted, this event has been voted as the top fundraising event in Keene. So we're proud to have them here, and we're happy to support this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 3.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to a request to use city property for Let It Shine, from Let It Shine for the 2023 Pumpkin Festival. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends a license be granted to Let It Shine, Inc. to use downtown city rights-of-way on Saturday, October 21, to hold the Keene Pumpkin Festival, subject to the following. This license is granted based upon the event scope presented to city staff during protocol meetings held to date. Changes or additions to the license may require that an amended license be issued by the council, and no changes to this license or the associated protocol documents will be accepted after September 1. The petitioner agrees to absorb the cost of any city services over and above the amount of city funding allocated in the FY24 community events budget. Agrees to remit said payment within 30 days of date of invoicing. They'll furnish a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the city of Keene as an additional insured. They'll sign the standard revocable license and identification agreement and associated protocol documents. That the footprint and layout for the event shall encumber the traveled portions of Central Square, Main Street, both sides from Central Square to Railroad Street, Gilboa Avenue, and a portion of Railroad Street. Road closures may include any portions of other streets needed to facilitate detour routes. The full extent of road closures and detour routes shall be agreed upon with city staff and will include any closures necessary to facilitate safety during pre-event setup and post-event cleanup. Petitioner is permitted to use the Railroad Square vendor spot for pumpkin drop-off by area schools on Friday, October 20th. The actual event will be held from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., with the times for setup and cleanup to be established by staff. Submittal of signed letters of permission from any private property owner for use of their property. Free parking is granted under the provisions of the free parking policy for city parking spaces needed for logistical purposes beginning Thursday, October 19, and extending through Monday, October 23rd, and spaces within the event footprint on the date of the event. And said permission is granted subject to obtainment of all necessary licenses and permits, compliance with all laws, compliance with any recommendation of staff.
Counselor Mosley for a motion, Counselor Giacomo for a second, please.
I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second. We have a motion by Counselor Mosley, seconded by Counselor Giacomo. Counselor Mosley.
Thank you, and thank you to the clerk for reading all of that. So this is the sort of the revival of the Pumpkin Fest. There was a new board a couple of years ago that was able to scramble and put together a small festival last year called Gathering of the Gourds. This year, it's going to look a little bit like a more traditional festival with some street closures. There would be nonprofit vendors. The schools will be invited back to do carvings. And I think they're expecting somewhere in the vicinity of 3,000 to 4,000 pumpkins from the schools this year. You'll also see return of a tower this year, which will be kind of exciting and resemble what the festival looked like in its heyday. It is going to coincide with Parents' Weekend, for the college, so that there will be lots of adults roaming around and keeping any students out in line. So that was, some thought was put into that. And yeah, we're excited to see the festival come back as a family-oriented event.
Any discussion? Counselor Remy?
Just clarifying, I know that the chair and vice chair clarified in the minutes that they were on the board for this organization. I am also on the board for this organization, but given it's not a financial question, we historically haven't had a conflict, but I just want to make sure everybody's aware.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 4.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to a request to use city property adjacent to Railroad Square for outdoor dining. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that Hennessy's Restaurant be permitted to place tables and chairs on the grassed-in area immediately east of the Railroad Square pavers for the serving of food and alcohol to patrons seated in the cafe area, Monday through Wednesday from 4 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. and Thursday through Sunday, noon to 9:30 p.m. This license is also subject to the following conditions: subject to the customary licensing requirements of the council, compliance with any requirements of Chapter 46 of the Code of Ordinances, compliance with any City of Keene sidewalk cafe guidelines issued by the staff, that the area encumbered shall not extend beyond the easterly most entrance to the building, that a buffer of at least 1 foot be maintained from the edge of the multi-use trail pavement to the fence enclosure structure, that the tables and chairs be removed when Railroad Square is utilized by any community event licensed by the city or any event scheduled through the Parks and Rec Department, that no materials, gravels, or any other alterations to the site may be made without prior approval from staff, and that the property be maintained and returned to its original state at the expiration of the license, with staff reviewing the condition of the area at the end of the season to determine any needed maintenance. And this license will expire March 1 of 2024.
Counselor Mosley for a motion, Counselor Giacomo for a second, please.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second?
We have a motion from Counselor Mosley, seconded by Counselor Giacomo. Counselor Mosley.
Thank you again. So this is a new owner of this space, and they came to us requesting the use of this patio space, which has traditionally been granted to prior owners. There was some discussion about changing sort of the energy and vibe of the restaurant space that's going to be inhabiting this location. Mr. Hennessy had stated that he's trying to find more of a bar and grill sort of crowd. The outdoor space this time will be for sit-down dining, not for hanging out and drinking. And we had lots of conversations about the revocability of this license or permit. And we're going to be keeping a close eye on the activity there, but it does seem like there's some good intention, and so PLD did support this.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none. Are you ready for a vote? All those in favor?
Sure, why not?
Opposed? That's unanimous. Number 5.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to a request to use city property for the location of a dumpster on Lamson Street. This is from 100 Nights. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that 100 Nights be granted a revocable license for the temporary placement of a dumpster within the right-of-way on Lamson Street, subject to the following conditions: the signing of a revocable license and identification agreement, the submittal of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, listing the City of Keene as an additional insured, and subject to compliance with any recommendations of staff. The location of the dumpster shall be coordinated with city staff and shall not interfere with the movement of vehicles and pedestrians along Lamson Street. Licensee is responsible for keeping the area around the dumpster clean and free from debris, garbage, and other materials. The license shall expire in 90 days from the date of issuance. And just for the record, Councilor Greenwald does have a conflict on file from 2012 regarding this dumpster as an abutter.
All right, any discussion from anyone other than Mitch on this one? Seeing none.
Oh,
Yep.
should
Vote was
I
leave.
have to give a motion?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Let's start with that. I'm going to move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Thanks. We have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Filio. Counselor Bosley.
I do feel like the PLD motions tend to encompass the entire story, so a lot of times I'm standing here reiterating everything that Patty says. But in this scenario, the city had been negotiating with the landlords, who I think at the last minute sort of turned this dumpster over to 100 Nights, who was unaware that there was an issue with it possibly residing on city property. So this is just sort of to clean up the last couple of months of their residence at that location. We did speak with the director, and they do have their CO for their new location and are just looking to finalize some furniture items, and then they'll be relocating. And this dumpster would be useful for them to sort of clean up the space that they're currently in on their way out, and PLD did support the 90 days.
Thank you. Now any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That one's unanimous as well. That brings us to city manager. Comments?
Thank you. There are a few comments tonight that are important. First of all, we have received a notice from our finance director that the Revenue Office is presently experiencing short staff, and so they will be closing at 2 o'clock on Wednesdays until we are able to resolve this issue. So the position has been posted, and we expect to fill it. However, for the immediate future, we will be closing the Revenue Office at 2 o'clock on Wednesdays. You have in front of you a Juneteenth flyer. So the Juneteenth obviously is a very important observation. We will see around Keene events starting tonight and going through the weekend. So we encourage everyone to take a look at that. I believe it's sponsored also by the Keene Family YMCA this year. So there's plenty of information online, and we encourage you to attend. Also, we wanted to just let everybody know, we are required to notify the public about something to do with fireworks. So I'm going to read to you a notice here. I'm making an announcement on behalf of the Keene Fire Department. With the 4th of July holiday right around the corner, it's a good time to remind everyone that a recent ordinance change was passed by the City Council relating to the discharge of fireworks. In the coming weeks, information on the new regulations will be publicized via social media, the city email listserv, and the city website. The fire department is asking that city residents review safety guidelines prior to purchasing or lighting fireworks. And of course, we wish everyone a happy Independence Day. Thanks.
That's it? Okay. That brings us to city officer and department reports. Number 1.
This is a memorandum that was intended to hit the Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee agenda of the meeting that they did cancel due to a very, very brief agenda. So the recommendation is to have the city manager do all things necessary to accept and expend a donation of $12,000 from the Friends of the Keene Public Library to fund market makerspace interns.
We're looking at Counselor Powers for a motion to suspend the rules with a second by Counselor Bosley, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to suspend Section 26 of the Rules of Order to act upon this item.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, second by Counselor Bosley. Counselor Powers? Any discussion on suspending the rules? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson? I'm sorry, Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
And Counselor Workman?
Yes.
And Greenwald?
Yep.
And Bosley?
Yes.
And Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that is unanimous. The rules are suspended. Counselor Powers for a motion, please. Counselor Remy for a second.
So I move to carry out the intent of the committee report, and that was for the council to authorize the manager to accept the grant of $12,000.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers.
As was indicated earlier, last week, we had 2 FOP meetings last week, and it was a light agenda. So we're suspending the rules tonight, even though we don't like to do that, but it's the right thing to do. Because the Friends of the Keene Public Library have donated $12,000 towards the Market Spacer program that goes on over there. School's getting out this week, program starts next week, and there are interns from Keene State College that are gonna work for us, but we need the money to pay for them, so that's why we'd like to get that taken care of tonight, and they can begin the program next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. Number 2.
This is our end of the month memorandum from the finance director regarding donations that various city departments have received over the last month.
Council Powers for a motion, Council Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Parks and Rec has done well again. They have a number of donations. The first donation is for $1,750. It's $1,000 from the Savings Bank of Walpole, $750 from Bensonwood. Both of those are going towards the Human Rights Committee for the June 17th event. And the Human Rights Committee, in collaboration with the YMCA, Keene State, Badger, Monadnock Diversity and Equity Inclusion, Longing Coalition, and the Keene Public Library, and the many other financial sponsors are hosting the events at Railroad Square Saturday the 17th. So the funding will go towards that. The second donation in the amount of $250 from Monadnock Co-op to cover the movie license for the fee for showing of the movie TILL back in February. In addition, the Savings Bank of Walpole and Bensonwood each donated $775 for the purpose of costing the Colonial Showroom Theater rental night for that showing. And again, Keene Park and Rec had a receipt of 2 more donations for specific parks. The first donation, the amount of $275 from Dan Gray, and these funds are earmarked for the skate park. He's an advocate of the skate program and wishes to see the new park a reality. And the second one is from the Monadnock Rugby Football Club in the amount of $4,000 for the purchase of goalposts at the Patricia T. Russell Park. Monadnock Rugby Club was instrumental in the design of the Russell Park, and they intend to do a lot of evenings playing there. Right, Counselor? We hope the council will accept these grants. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Yes, Council Workman?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to extend my thanks to the donors for the Juneteenth events. I have been part of the planning committee for that. I'm on the Human Rights Committee, and I'm also the chair of the Monadnock DEIB Coalition. We shorten it because it is a mouthful. So I just want to thank our donors, and I hope that everyone comes out and enjoys the event. We really worked hard to sponsor some really great performances and plan a great event. So come out and join us. Even if it's going to be rainy, we have a contingency plan for that. So don't let the weather stop you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous, and I would second Councilor Workman in thanking all of the generous donors who give to the city for great events and other things. Which brings us to number 3.
Memorandum from the Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director. It's regarding our life insurance and long-term disability renewal. This was, again, another item that was on the Finance Committee agenda that was canceled. The motion is to recommend the city manager do all things necessary to execute a new multi-year contract renewing coverage with Symetra to administer the city's life and long-term disability insurance program.
And this is going to require a suspension of the rules. Councilor Powers for a motion, please. Councilor Bosley for a second.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to suspend Rules Section 26 to act upon this item.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion on suspending the rules? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Late?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counsel Phillips.
Yes.
Counsel Williams.
Yes.
Counsel Jones.
Yes.
Counsel Madison.
Yes.
Counsel Roberts.
Yes.
Counsel Workman.
Yes.
Counsel Greenwald.
Yes.
Counsel Bosley.
Yes.
And Counsel Powers.
Yes.
And that is unanimous. The rules are suspended. Council Powers for a motion, please. Council Remy for a second.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
The motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Councilor Powers.
Again, this is time sensitive in that the current contract expires on June 30th, so we're bumping up against the timeline here. The prior contract was the 3-year contract, and as it was coming close to a conclusion, the city went out for some quotations and some discussions with other coverages, including the Health Trust. Had some assistance from one of our local vendors, the Richards Group, that helped us review. And essentially, the quotes and reviews were conducted, and the existing contract was not exactly, was exactly where we want to be, so Sumitra is recommended as the best interest, is in the best interest of the city, and I'd like you to authorize the city manager to sign a new contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 4.
And this is the annual warrant for unlicensed dogs, which is better than last year in terms of compliance, so we're quite pleased.
Any counselors on it this year?
We usually try to call ahead.
All right, so this will be referred to the Municipal Services, Facilities, and Infrastructure Committee. And that brings us to Board and Commission reports. Number 1.
We have a report from the Ad hoc Charter Review Committee relative to an amendment to the city charter dealing with municipal primaries. On a vote of 5-0, the Ad hoc Charter Amendment Committee recommends that the mayor schedule a public hearing before the Ad hoc Charter Amendment Committee to receive public comments on an amendment to the Keene City Charter that would eliminate the current language in Section 11 that authorizes the city clerk to declare the necessity of having a primary, and for Section 11 to be amended to require a biennial primary for only the offices of mayor, ward councilor, and at-large councilor, with all other city ward offices to be elected at the municipal general election, as well as a minor amendment to Section 14 to conform with the proposed revision in Section 11.
And so seeing as the FOP committee is serving as the Ad hoc Charter Amendment Committee, they've requested that the public hearing for these charter amendments be on a regular meeting night for them, and that makes sense to me. So I'll set the public hearing before the Ad hoc Charter Amendment Committee for Thursday, July 13th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m., and it'll be here in council chambers. Which brings us to ordinances for second reading, number 1.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to ordinance O 2023-06. Committee is recommending the adoption of the ordinance, and we have ordinance O 2023-06, an ordinance relating to amendments to the Land Development Code dealing with accessory dwelling units.
Looking to Councilor Bosley for a motion, Councilor Giacomo for a second, please.
I move to adopt ordinance O-2023-06.
Second?
Be a motion from Councilor Bosley, seconded by Councilor Giacomo. Councilor Bosley?
So I'm just going to take a brief second here to acknowledge the piece of information that we accepted as informational earlier, which is our housing analysis. PLD has spent a lot of time reviewing this document, and I want to give credit to staff for already starting down the road of including a lot of strategies that have appeared in our housing analysis into new ordinances that have appeared before us over the last several months. This is one of them. During this process, I do want to give sort of a shout out to Councilor Williams and myself have brought up ADUs multiple times to staff, and seeing any revision to this ordinance is welcome. What we have before us, it expands on our current ordinance, and it allows these ADUs to be available to homeowners in every zone in the city versus a limited number of zones previous. And there were stipulations which required ADUs to be attached prior. So now everyone will be allowed to have a detached unit. And I definitely see the benefits here. I think there were a lot of people that were being turned away at community development looking to do this type of renovation to their home because they were trying to do a detached unit or they weren't in the proper zone. So this is a good opportunity to see some multi-generational housing and to meet some of our housing goals. So PLD supports it, and I hope everyone else will too.
All right, Counselor Williams.
Hi, I'd just like to say thank you to PLD, thank you to city staff, thank you to the joint committee. You know, a lot of work has gone into this, and it's important, and I'm really glad that we've gotten to this point, and I hope we'll pass it in a few minutes. I think the value of this is that it really creates housing opportunities at the bottom end of the socioeconomic ladder. You know, this creates there's now an opportunity, you know, if you have, you know, a detached garage or a carriage house in your yard that, you know, was previously maybe parking or storage, that can be converted to a place for somebody to live, and it can be done relatively inexpensively, and that means it can be rented relatively inexpensively. And that's really filling a need that we very much have in our community, and so I'm very pleased that we will be addressing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? This requires a roll call. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that is unanimous. Number 2.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee on another amendment to the Land Development Code, this one dealing with Ordinance O 2022-19B. They do recommend the adoption, and we have Ordinance O 2022-19B, an ordinance relating to amendments to the Land Development Code, specifically the application procedures.
Looking at Counselor Bosley for a motion to adopt, please. Counselor Giacomo for a second.
Move to adopt ordinance O-2022-19-B.
Second.
We have a motion by Counselor Bosley, second by Counselor Giacomo. Counselor Bosley.
So this is an ordinance that came before Joint Committee and PLD and this council and was sent back to Joint Committee to have the parts removed that PLD was not comfortable and this council was not comfortable with. So what we have before us back is basically the housekeeping items that we really need to address. I'm not going to go into any detail, but just going to highlight there are some driveway setbacks that for shared driveways that aren't realistic, so it's clarifying those. There are amendments to the process for requesting a major parking reduction. There are eliminating redundant language within the surface water protection overlay. Within Article 13, clarifying the co-location or modifications to existing telecommunications facilities, and an attempt to make the city's telecommunication ordinance compliant with state law. They created a loophole, and we're closing that loophole up. And then lastly, there's a little bit of a change to a process. So the ordinance proposes to amend section 25.4.3 of Article 25 when we're amending the land development code, that we don't have to go through the full process if items aren't zoning related. So this basically encompasses a lot of little tiny housekeeping things, and PLD's reviewed everything thoroughly, and we're all in support of this.
Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? This requires a roll call. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yep.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that is unanimously adopted. So we had several items from our June 1st city council meeting that were tabled related to the budget. And so at this time, I'll take from the table for action Resolution R 2023-13 and ask the clerk to please read the resolution into the record.
Resolution R 2023-13, a resolution relating to the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget. Resolved by the City Council of the City of Keene as follows, that the sum of $27,808,122 be raised by taxation during the current year, which together with $40,073,236 for estimated operating revenues, aggregating $67,881,358 is hereby appropriated for the use of the several departments of the city government, and further that the sum of $7,098,671 be appropriated for capital expenditures and capital reserve appropriations in the city's proprietary funds, funded by the use of capital reserves, fund balance, and current revenues. This all for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023.
So we didn't receive any written recommendations from city councilors on the operating budget pursuant to Section 30 of the Rules of Order. So at this time, I'm looking to Councilor Powers for a motion to adopt, and Councilor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to adopt Resolution 2023-13.
Second.
And we have a motion by Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers?
Thank you, Your Honor. It's the budget. And I think last meeting of the city council gave a little overview of all the things we were covering. And we actually had a member come up and thank us for the funding that was given to a project that really supports the city in so many ways. And this whole budget supports the city in so many ways. And I want to thank the staff for bringing a budget in that's very reasonable when you think about the cost of doing business today. While it looks to be around a 4% increase in the budget, doesn't necessarily mean our taxes are going to go up. But what it does mean is that there was a lot of work put into making sure we adequately fund the work that needs to be done every day in the streets of the city of Keene. So thanks to the staff, thanks to the members of the Finance Committee and members of the council who listened to all these programs. In a couple of evenings, we got it done well, and I'd like you to pass it unanimously tonight if you could. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councilor Filio?
Just a quick thank you to Council Powers and the Finance Committee. Been through a lot of budgets, and you guys did a phenomenal job, and you're all to be applauded.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think increasing the budget at 4% is just amazing. Nobody here can, I don't think, can say their household budget, they were able to keep the increase under 4%. And that includes, we made space for 3 new badly needed firefighters within the next budget. So I think that's amazing. And we still under, I guess, our fiscal policy wants us to keep under the Boston Consumer Price Index, and we still have done that. So congratulations to all. Thank you to the staff and the committee.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous, and that passes the budget. And, you know, being that that's probably my last budget as your mayor, I want to thank the city council, and really, I just can't emphasize enough Councilor Powers' leadership with all the budgets that I've been involved with. I mean, and some of the older guys who have been here probably remember what the budget nights were like back when you started getting on council, and I think it's much different now, and I think we have a really strong process, and I want to thank Tom for his leadership there. He just does a great job, and the entire Finance Committee and the council. But yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to personally thank the Finance Department. It's been a really difficult transition with the finance system migrating from one to another. Every single day, they are making sure that column A matches column B, matches column C, matches column D, and we're talking about everything from payroll to budget and you name it. So Mary and Karen and the Finance Department staff, thank you so much for all the extra hours you put in. We really appreciate the finance team.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, that brings us to number 1. I have 2 number 1s, but number 1 for number 1 again.
That's not exactly clear, is it? Well, what we're at is the ordinance O 2023-11A. It's the class allocation schedule. This was another one of those items that was tabled June 1, and it's now before you. It was awaiting action on the budget, which just occurred. The Finance Committee's recommendation is the adoption, and it is ordinance O 2023-11A, an ordinance relating to class allocation and salary schedules.
I'm looking to Council Powers for a motion. Council Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to adopt ordinance 2023-11A.
Second.
A motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers?
Thank you, Your Honor. And the reason that there was an A version of this, there was a typographical error. It was all those changes between one machine and another that slipped up. One of the most important parts is the payroll. So that got squared away, and before you, you see an ordinance that handles all the employees that are not in bargaining units and the part-time folks. And it pushes the scale by 3%. It includes part-time folks. And it's really in line with what the union negotiations have been over the past couple of years. And it reclassifies just a few positions as a HR specialist, parking operations manager, and it adds a project manager to the Public Works Department, given the number of major projects that they're looking at in the next few years. So once again, this is a lot of work to get this to come out the right way so that all the employees are taken care of and they kind of match what's going on with those that are in a union. And highly recommended. I hope that we pass this by 100% unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, and just a reminder to the council, this requires a 2/3 majority. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald? Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that is unanimous. So we have number 2.
Another issues that were tabled from our June 1st meeting, they are the 3 bond resolutions. So we start off with Resolution R 2023-14. Finance Committee is recommending the adoption. And we have Resolution R 2023-14, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the Road Preservation and Rehabilitation Program.
Council Powers for a motion to adopt, please. Council Remy for a second.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to adopt Resolution 2023-14.
Second.
A motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers?
And this is the last part of our whole budget project. You know, now the money has been approved and the funding that's required for some of these major projects that includes bonding needs to be authorized. Doesn't necessarily mean that they'll go out and do some bonding this next week, but they will look at how the funds are going, what's the cash flow, and when's the right time to bond, and it may combine some other ones. But at any rate, this is $520,000. It's for road preservation and rehabilitation programs. That's a major part of what Public Works does every day, and it is getting more and more expensive. So doing this at the right time is going to be the most important thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
That is unanimous. Now for the second resolution.
Resolution R 2023-15, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the Stormwater Resiliency Program.
Council Powers for a motion. Council Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to adopt Resolution 2023-15.
Second.
We have a motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers?
Thank you, Your Honor. This also is a bonding resolution. It's authorized the bonding of various projects to the amount of $1,374,000. And the manager's authorized to borrow up to that amount of money under the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act. We ask that you approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald? Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that is unanimous. And for this third one, I understand there was a clerical error that was in R 2023-16, and although it's minor, it's going to require an A version. And so once the motion to adopt has been made, Counselor Powers will explain that, I suppose.
Yep. Resolution R 2023-16, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the Thompson Road stabilization.
I'm looking at Counselor Powers for a motion. Counselor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to adopt Resolution 2023-16.
Second.
And we have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is for the Thompson Road Stabilization Project. This is a major project that we're going to try to get going as soon as possible. But again, it was a matter of having the program put together, the authorizations, the finances, and the funding for bonding. In the text of the resolution, written out, it's, instead of writing out $1,057,000, it wrote out $520,000. So that needs to be corrected. Therefore, this will be version A, be 2023-16A, and ask that you pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe you have to make a motion to amend.
I would. I move to amend Resolution 2023-16.
Second, with the intent that the amendment changes that text to match.
Right.
Thank you, Counselor.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy, and the motion is to amend the resolution to reflect the correct amount of money. Any questions or comments on the amendment? Ready to vote on the amendment? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Give me a show.
Can be a show. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, so we have an amended A version on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yep.
Counselor Bosley? And
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes?
All right, that is unanimous. And that brings to an end our regular agenda. There is no non-public tonight. I want to thank those in attendance, those watching at home, and have a great night. We stand adjourned.